All right, people. So we've got here Abu Safoura. Abu Safoura. We've had Abu Safoura before from Bangladesh. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Mufti. Greetings. How have you been?
I've been well, Abu Safoura. We can't see you yet. You're
It,
uh,
it has been quite a long time, Mufti.
put your camera on, man. Gracious
I'm
with
not putting
your
my camera on. Never putting my
wow.
camera on. Too precious of a face to show. How have you been, Mufti? I
I've
do
been
not
well.
have.
Lillah alhamd. Allah be
I
praised.
haven't much questions in particular. I
Okay.
just wanted to know how you were doing, Mufti. When they did whatever the hell they did, I swear, had this been a different time, I would have taken my spaceship and declared jihad on them. It pissed me off big time.
Oh, the you took the incident
The
from
incident,
last year.
Mufti.
Yeah, yes. Of course.
I,
You know what? Look, you know what? It's interesting because what they did was obviously totally abysmal and just
disgusting, despicable,
despicable.
degenerates.
Yeah,
May Allah
but
destroy them.
I think many of them. Uh, I know some of them were arrested, and I know at least one is being charged. So that's obviously
Alhamdulillah.
taking
Alhamdulillah
place. So I
Kathira.
think just last month I got the police told me that they were now charging like the full decision. The investigation was over. They were now charging him. Now the whole process takes place. It may take a couple of months, few months, whatever. But so I mean, I'm sure they've kind of whatever it is, Allah has served them with their consequences, and they have to live with that. You see, to me, with time having passed by, you see, because nobody can undo the past. The past has happened, and
Right.
you see, for me, I can't remember. I ended up thinking about this not so long ago. I think last week. Was it last week or maybe the week? I can't remember, or maybe the week before or something. But anyway, a video came up on. I was checking through I was trying to find my video to send to somebody, my own video about something, and so when I typed it in, just my name, and I was trying to find, so a bunch of videos came up, and some video came up, which is an old video from last year, where some people were speaking about the incident, and so it was like I can't remember, like maybe about 6 minutes or 7 minutes. So I ended up I thought, okay, I wonder what they were saying. So it's been it's been now over a year, but I played it, and so and I was like, they're not like there's a side of me that felt. They're not being fair in what they're saying and blah, 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 blah. But since it's been over a year, I'm kind of over it. I'm not emotionally reactionary. But I kind of felt in the moment, and then honestly, I thought to myself, it was like early morning. It was probably like about this kind of time. I thought to myself that, look, honestly, I thought I need to grow up. Like I thought, look, this world is bigger than my feelings. This world is much more than just my perspective, my thing, my how I feel about something, my emotion. Yeah, this, it's not about me. This isn't about like I need to also realize that my ego too. I need to understand in its own look. History is done, but I need to understand that in the past as well. I feel that look, there is, in hindsight, I I don't like in hindsight maybe the trajectory of the path that I was on at a certain point. I feel that that there was an ego. I feel that there's in this thing there's many egos, and I feel I too, whether I knew it
Which
or not.
particular part are you referring to, Mufti? Which
Uh,
particular part in time?
no, I mean there's nothing particular. There's a let's say let's say the years that year leading up just before the incident. So let's say a year before the incident.
Other fun
Um,
times.
yeah, the fun times. When I was
They were
proper. I,
fun.
I was, the masala, and I
Ah,
was kind of. It was look. There were fun and games, and obviously was jokes, and I wasn't. To be fair, I felt that I felt at the
funny.
time that I was being sincere and I was being fun, but I think in hindsight it was a you know it was a path of the ego that was ultimately, and it was a self-destructive path. It wasn't a, even though there was goodness as well there, but I feel that it wasn't something, it was also toxic in its own way. And like sometimes maybe Allah, like there's a tragedy, but there's blessings after the tragedy. Like maybe Allah, in every, there's a silver lining to everything, every calamity that we see. And maybe sometimes just a time to reflect and to think that, look, okay, and to actually receive a lot of love as well from people, and just to think, yeah, okay, where am I going, by the way, now that I'm still, in quantum physics they have this thing that you can't accurately define the velocity, the speed, and the position of something.
Right.
You can only define one but not the other. You can estimate the other,
You
but you
can't have the
can't
position
accurately. Yeah, exactly, because it's either in movement or it's either got a position. It can't have both a velocity. You can't have both at the same time with absolute precision. So
Yes,
it's the
indeed.
same thing. Sometimes you need to stop and reflect. So I just take it. This is how I take it. I take that, look, things happen. Everybody faces their own consequence. Like those, look, people that did that, that was a disgusting act. And I feel
Horrible.
will
Despicable.
face their own misery in life. They will
May
carry that
Allah,
weight.
may Allah burn them in the deepest pits of hell. Mufti, in the comment section, we have people denying hell. I mean, okay, fine, but this is why I get great reassurance that there is hellfire. And my personal theology as well, I believe that God inherently is tremendously harsh. And I mean, he's merciful as well. But I feel some justification in that, not entirely. But I do feel some justification. Like some people really need to burn forever.
You know what? To be honest, I, it's difficult for me to make a dua like that for any, like for
I'll
even for
do it
those
for you.
people.
You know what? I'll do it on your behalf, right? I'll do it on your behalf. Don't worry.
You know what? The only thing I felt, honestly, that, yeah, I mean, the thing is, yeah, obviously, because there's a there's this obviously thing I carry as a father that it's hard to that forgiveness, because of my
Never
daughters.
forgive them.
But
Yeah, never forgive them.
yeah, so that's the thing, you see. But to be honest, I don't, hellfire and stuff like that. It's difficult for me to make du'as like that for people. I just feel in this dunya, may they, I'm sure Allah will take them to task. And the rest, I just leave those things with God. I just know that, look, for that suffering, Allah followed it with so many blessings for me that I was just, bedazzled. And that's the glory of Allah. You can't.
Have you any examples of such blessings? Have you any examples of such blessings?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, man. Like my, seriously, so much of my life just changed. There's something, in Jungian psychology, you have something called synchronicity. That it's not necessarily causation, but certain things come together at a certain time. So there's no direct causation between sometimes certain things. I mean, sometimes there could be as well what they call exponential causation. Maybe one thing does something which makes you do this, makes you do that. So for example, today your tire, was punctured, so you had to take a taxi. Now you took a taxi and you ended up talking to the taxi driver and about something, and then maybe you left your phone in there and you forgot that, and then now you have to go back and you meet somebody else and you get an opportunity, and let's say you find a better job all of a sudden, and you think, wow, well, the punctured tire didn't cause that, but it was an exponential, one could say, causation or synchronicity in Jungian psychology, that things kind of come together, they synchronize. Now, there was a synchronicity of events that really followed that incident, which were mainly things like, so for example, one of the things was when I just paused a lot of stuff and took time out for myself, obviously for the family, but for myself as well, gathering my thoughts. And there were a few months I didn't do anything online. Yeah, there was at least about like 3 months or so. But there were things that during that time, so many, so many people connected. The love that I saw, this thing, honestly, I'm telling you, I mean,
I'll
like
send you a
actual
few
love.
emails as well.
Yeah, yeah, you did. And there's people, I mean, people who probably couldn't stand me, let's say, some people, that or maybe they were just polarized opposites who really going like actual, not just words, like actions. People came, the stuff that they wanted, like there's so many things, and then other opportunities as well arose from this. um but for me, one of the biggest things was the love, which set into so many new friendships that I
Right.
had with so many people that I did not have these friendships before. That I've been like, wow, okay, which has led to just other amazing experiences. Then also the path of consciousness. When I took time out, I also that path of consciousness really was life defining for me. Just really, there's just walking
Yeah,
that
you
path,
have
which
now
I'll go
become a
into.
life coach.
Honestly, even look, I am somebody. I've always been a key advocate of for people, for those who will it and who it chooses them and they choose it, of things like sacred medicine and psychedelics, and these things are also very, they can have an incredibly profound
Uh,
life evolving manifestation for someone, and these things as well, like, so there's just so many things at the time, even in work, like work related, business related, but there's just so much came together, like in the months that went on. Not immediately, not like days after, or even a few, but it started, like I started to see all these blessings from Allah. And yeah, so in the ma'al usri yusra, and we really have to focus on the goodness in life. Things happen
right on.
everywhere. Like I think my problems are big until I see someone with real problems. Let
Yeah,
me,
that is true. That
let
it
me
is a
let me
yeah.
let me tell you something. Yeah, like
Go on.
I share this little story.
Yeah, sure. Go on.
I recently I was on a retreat in Spain. Yeah, and so there was this one evening, we were on this course, Spanish kind of course, and there was there was this one evening we were together, and there were several people, probably like 20 plus on the course, and they're all very elderly kind of people, and it's amazing that these people are out there. They're probably easily late 50s, 60s, mid 60s, most of them. They're out there still seizing life, going on, seeking their adventure. And there was this day, that on this one particular day, something back here had may have or may not have happened. Like, I wasn't sure, like there was something, and it was kind of plaguing my mind. It was a bit of a problem. It could have been a problem, I don't know. I needed to come back to find out, and
In the
obviously I
United
couldn't come back.
Kingdom
Yeah, in the
or in
UK. So I was
Spain.
in Spain,
Okay.
and so I've heard, okay, there's something, I don't know, maybe it's nothing, maybe there's something about, I can't fully ascertain until I'm back, and it's just on the back of your mind, and you're thinking, yeah, it's just a bit of a mood ruins, it's just like a little problem. It's a problem. So and
Right.
I remember this one day thinking to myself that, oh man, yeah, I've got this problem, and I'm here. I'm supposed to be fully immersed in enjoying the moment, and I remember thinking this during the day. Now in the evening, we were on this part. We were all together at this place, and I remember asking, one of these ladies. I said, well, oh, how come there was this quite old lady? Maybe she was about, definitely late 60s, if not maybe 70, into that. But she was just sitting on one side, and she wasn't participating in like the events and stuff, and she was part of the group, and I asked, oh, is she okay? How come she's not? And they said, yeah, and so somebody told me, they said, look, listen, what it is she's actually she's going through quite a bit. And I said, oh, okay, what's happening? And she's from the UK. And I said, well, what's going on? They said, well, just late last year her husband passed away, and now she's recently she's been diagnosed with fatal cancer,
Oh,
and
that's
and
terribly sad.
and and I said, how come she's on the course? And they said, well, she wanted to come, and she wanted to kind of. So I went over to her to talk to her, and I mean, not to bring this up because obviously this could be very personal and private,
Triggering.
but just to
Yeah.
talk to her. Like I just sat next, and I asked her, hey, how are you doing? How's the course? And how's the Spanish coming along? And she said, yeah, it's good. And she seems so happy, and she was just absorbing the moment, and she was just living it. And wallahi, as I spoke to her and we just talked, and I thought to myself that, yaar, what do people, yaar, kya? Earlier on, I was thinking, problem. What are problems? Here is a person in the face of certain uncertainty, and yet she's smiling, and she's absorbing life, and she's living it, and she's this, and that's where you can't, that's problems that you can't do anything about. All these other problems, everybody can do something about them. It's not, these are not even problems. And wallahi, it was such a like a revelatory lesson for me, that I just thought that, wow, we lose ourselves in what we think are difficulties in life. Really, it's nothing. It's it could be a difficulty, it could be an adventure. It's your mindset, isn't it? So yeah, so I thought, I just remembered, I thought I'd share it with you. But shukran, Abu Safoura, for jumping on. And
I'm
it's
not
been
done. I've
ages.
got questions, Mufti.
Oh, you've got
Suddenly I've got questions.
Go on.
Yeah, make it a mind trap. Make it a mind trap. But anyway,
I'll have to bring
Mufti,
you on a
though,
mind trap. Drop me I've got you on Insta, I remember, but just shoot a message, so it'll come to the top.
Yeah, sure, let's
of my
do it
messages, and
someday.
we'll do
I'll wear a niqab on, right? But
I'm sure your beauty won't, as amazing as it is, I'm sure we'll survive.
yeah, too much fitter and fasad. Mufti, the question is a little personal in nature. The question is, why do you believe in Islam?
Oh, why, personal to me? I
Yes,
thought
yes.
personal to you.
No, personal to you. I'm the interviewee. I'm the interviewer. You're the interviewee.
Look, why do I believe in Islam? Right now, does that mean as opposed to believing in anything, or just why Islam specifically?
Why Islam specifically?
Yeah, okay. See, well, first of all, from the world major faiths, right? So you have major faiths in the world, like whether you want to take the top 6, right? Now,
Judaism, Christianity.
Sure, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, etc., Sikhism, Islam. Now, look, Islam, truly speaking, is the only faith out of all of these that stands the test of the rational critique. It is the only, and this is not just me saying this. You'll get, in fact, even Clark on his, the author of the Space Odyssey. He has an amazing interview as well on Islam, and where he says as well that if there's the only faith that can truly stand the test of the Inquisition, if you like, the metaphorical Inquisition of modernity, and the test of the intellectual rigor that it brings, is Islam. And he kind of feels, he says that if it wasn't for Muslims and what they've done, he personally would have loved to have embraced Islam, but he feels that they are just doing to it what other people were doing. But this is a few decades ago when he wrote that, I think in the 60s or something. Now, so it is the only faith that really stands the test of that intellectual rigor. Now, obviously, I was born Muslim, into a Muslim family. What I mean by that, and I was raised Muslim, so it's not something it was alien to me. But I wasn't practicing in the sense that, I wasn't a devout Muslim until I myself wanted to learn it. And I went off and I studied, and I have to say that I seriously, I have tried, in my own way, not in a kind of like a malicious way, but in a genuine way. Tr- Over the years, tried to critique, like put my lens of analyses to certain points and see that does it stand the test. And I have found
Right.
that every time it did. And it's amazing that I have said that, if it was alone, the fact that the Quran, honestly, to me, it is, people look for other miracles. Yeah. The Quran it's so miraculous, but in its subtle ways, that, you see, this is where I find the splendor, that when you, for example, it was all too easy for the Quran. Because people say, look, well, the Quran was just the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Obviously, they don't believe he was a prophet. They just say it was this man Muhammad from 7th century Arabia who was taking this from, let's say, other sources, and he was coming up with it. Now, okay, if that's your hypothesis, not yours, but let's say people, intellectually, you can put it to the test, because it would be all too easy for the Quran to slip up and make certain mistakes, or say certain things. Let's say it could say, at least, which people at the time would have accepted. It could have said them, but it didn't. And I find this so miraculous that every time, okay, so people even look, when the Quran speaks of certain things, let's say they miraculous things, even when it does, it always uses a language that caters, that has the agility, that, sure, you can take away a gist of it, but it doesn't actually say it necessarily in that way. Like a good example is, like, let's say now, evolution. Now, it's very easy for the Quran to have negated something like this. Like, obviously, this is before, like, as in, to very solidly have presented the alternative, very solidly, not just in a verse saying Allah created Adam with his both hands, but just categorically in wherever this came up. But yet, every single time this comes up in the Quran, when Allah is speaking about the creation of humans, he's saying things like, he's saying that, look, we created them from this, which was connected to the earth, which was Allah is saying, khalaqakum atwara, created you in stages. He's saying all these. It would have been all too easy to just say it and end it, because people would have accepted it anyway back then. If this was, let's say you go with the hypothesis that somebody was just trying to make this up, because they're saying, well, this is just made up, then for it to have had very clear, but what I mean is very forceful, um, no, counterfactual statements, would have been all too easy, but it never does. That's amazing. That in itself is a miracle of the Quran, that it never quite says things that are so forceful. It will allow people, sure, if you want to believe like that, it's not right now the priority. The main thing is you're connecting with God. The main thing is you're moving away from superstition. The main thing is this. But sure, it'll say it in a way that will allow people to have certain narratives, but it will never present a forceful, kind of forcible, counterfactual statement. Never. Like, and that I find, is an absolute miracle of, to me, I mean, these are personal things. I get it. I'm not trying to say this is a, maybe to someone, that it doesn't hit them the same way. Sure. But that said, I'd like to kind of just this whole question, just kind of underline it by saying, look, it is to not believe in something is I mean, that I'm not even sure that's possible. People that say they are atheists, I'm not so sure they are. They think they are, but what they're simply doing is denying a maybe a certain institutionalized interpretation of a faith, or of many faiths, or of all faiths. Let's say they denying that. They're not. It's very difficult to believe that people don't actually believe, because, like, let's take the concept of the sacred. All human beings, it is with so deeply embedded in every single human being, the concept of the sacred. How the concept of the sacred is the talk of religion. It doesn't exist otherwise. Where does it come from? How does anybody justify anything sacred? Anything, including human life. Anything. You cannot rationally, objectively speaking, justify anything sacred. You can explain it, but you can't rationalize it, objectively speaking, outside of the human domain. Even human life. What makes human life sacred? There's nothing to, you could say, well, it's special for the human species, but human species. But people say, so what? If somebody was to argue, well, let's say this planet isn't the planet of the humans, it's the planet of the tardigrades. Humans are just inconsequential, let's say, from the perspective of tardigrades. So what? What makes human life special then? Tardigrades they've stood world cataclysmic disasters, and they've survived all of them.
They're
They can
on the
survive in
moon.
space. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they can exist in the most extremist of circumstances. I mean, we can't exist like they can exist. They've even had them taken to space and come back. They still survive. It's just like these crazy entities.
Interesting creatures.
Yeah, they're very interesting creatures. But what I'm trying to say is this concept of the sacred is a good example that everybody believes in the sacred. Now, they just maybe they don't agree on what they call the sacred. They agree on certain things, disagree on others, but they agree on the sacred, the concept of it. And why? Where does that come from? That's not the talk of science. It's not definitely not the talk of empiricism. It's not the talk of mathematics. One may argue mathematics is sacred, but the point is that this is the talk of faith. So I believe all of us deep down believe. Maybe we just don't know it, which isn't
This
surprising,
is the fitrah.
because
This is the fitrah.
100%, because even to know yourself, sometimes maybe we do have faith, we just don't know it, because one of the greatest adventures in life will be to know thyself. In Arabic they say, man arafa nafsa arafa rabba. If you know yourself, you will end up knowing God. That this is, your Lord, because
it sort of resonates with that verse, Mufti. سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق
وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين أنه الحق. And one way of reading this is, one is until it is the truth, and one way أنه الحق. God, the manifestation of the transcendental glory itself. Allah. It becomes like, wow, like this, until you realize that these signs, everything these are intimations of the transcendental divine glory.